I've got OBS on this PC as well. There's no preview on it. I've got it turned off at the moment. But I will show you a couple of really basic things. I can't really do much with this because if I do this, piddle around with this one too much, it'll stop the stream. But I can run you through the basic settings. So your general settings, you generally don't have to touch. Once you install OBS, you open it up, and the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously set up your stream. So you want to be able to set up your settings, your video, your audio, things like that. So your general tab, you don't really need to touch any of this at all. It's all pretty standard. You can change the theme from dark to light. I prefer dark. It's just that's my thing. But you can have it on that color if you want. There's a few different colors there. Default is really white and really bright. I prefer the dark. You got first place in PUBG, nice. So then we go to the stream settings. Obviously, if you're going to be streaming on Mixer, you want to have your service here set to mixer.com FTL. Now, FTL stands for faster than light, and faster than light obviously is that it's the latency that you have between your stream and Mixer, and faster than light is amazing, absolutely amazing. You've got virtually no lag. So essentially, what you guys are seeing, I'm talking to you now, and when you talk in chat, I'm seeing it virtually straight away. There's virtually no lag. There's no latency there. So if you set in the chat said to me to clap, I'd see that almost straight away, and I would clap, and you'd obviously see it happen in front of you virtually at the same time you were chatting. Whereas other platforms can have up to a 3-minute delay, so it makes interaction very, very difficult. You can set a delay through OBS if you want to. If you're a competitive gamer and you're worried about being stream sniped, you can set a manual delay on OBS to ensure that doesn't happen. So that is there. Always set your server on auto. What that will do will choose the server that is closest to you at any given time, rather than having, if you set it on a manual server, if your server goes down, then you'll lose connection. Whereas if you have it on auto, if your closest server goes down, it'll jump it to the next closest server, so it'll always keep your service running. Now your stream key you find on Mixer. So we'll just open this back up. We'll go to my Mixer here, manage channel. This is where you find your stream key, right here. You go to your Mixer, you manage your channel, and then you've got stream set up here. You've got a regenerate stream key. It is hidden for a reason. Obviously, I'm not going to show you what my stream key is, but you can copy it just by clicking on the double little boxes there, or you can reveal it and copy it that way, and you can regenerate that stream key at any time as well. If you have an issue with a stream key, you can regenerate a new one, and you put it into that area on OBS, so it goes into there, and it'll come up as dots, or you can click show and it'll show you the stream key. And then obviously you want to click apply down here. I don't need to, it's already there, but you would click apply, and then your next step would be to come to this section here. I can't change any of this right now because I'm not actually using this version of my OBS to stream. This is set up with the NDI, which is actually only capturing this computer and sending it to my other computer, which is doing the actual stream. But I can still give you a quick rundown on this. This here is where you would set up your encoder. My suggestion to anyone starting out fresh, is you use the wizard and the tools. If we cancel this, you go to your tools section here, and you've got an auto configuration wizard. It's still in beta, but I found it really, really good. Set that up first before you do anything else. Put your stream key and everything in, and then go through your auto configuration. What it'll do is it'll test your internet speed, and it'll test your video quality, like your encoder quality and all that sort of stuff, and give you a base of settings to start from. And those settings are pretty good, and I definitely would trust them. Then you can come back into here, and we can come into this section. Depending on what you're doing, what system you're using, whether you have a decent graphics card or whether you've got a really good CPU, my suggestion for the encoder, this will be on simple when you first come in. I suggest switching over to an advanced up here, just a drop down box, click advanced, and it'll bring this section up in here. Depending on your video card, you'll see a slight difference in here, but essentially the system's the same. I am using my graphics card encoder, which is the NVENC H.264, which is for NVIDIA. AMD is different. I can't really tell you about AMD. I don't use AMD, but I know that the encoder is a different name. But you can still use your AMD encoder. You'll know the difference between that and your CPU, because your CPU would just be a times 264 in there. From there, you've got a rate control. This must always be on CBR. So that is really important. You've got VBS, you've got lossless, but always put it on CBR, which is constant bitrate. Your bitrate will vary depending on your internet speed. This is set on 5K on mine. I actually run my bitrate on my streaming PC at 10,000, mainly because I have gigabyte fiber. So I have a very, very fast internet speed, which enables me to stream at a lot higher bitrate than a lot of other streamers. So that's, you sort of play with that. If your stream's looking pixelated, and that, you may need to alter your bitrate to accommodate, or alter your video output, which we'll get to shortly. Your presets, I've got mine on a high quality. I recommend that when you start, you put it on low latency, high quality, which will help with any sort of lag and stagnant gameplay. All the rest of these you want to leave pretty much the same. The keyframe interval is normally default on 1. I set mine on default 0. I set it on 1. It gives you a more consistent keyframe interval. So that's essentially that. Your recording, audio, and replay buffer are more advanced settings, which you can get into later on. If you're wanting to get into that sort of thing and you're not sure how, join my Discord. Drop a question into the tech channel. We've got a text channel there, which is for tech help. Drop a question in there asking me about the recording tab and the audio and the replay buffer, and I can get you into Discord one-on-one and run you through those things, because they're different for everyone, but we can do that at any time. The audio tab, this is where you find basic things like your sample rate. Your sample rate, to make your sound consistent, make your sample rate the same as your PC. So when you go down to your playback volumes and recording and everything else, make sure when you go to properties and go to advanced tab, make sure this here is the same as OBS. So you don't want to have this on 44.1 hertz and having OBS on 48 hertz, because you could end up with audio artifacts and things like that, and that's not good. Not good at all. The desktop audio you set for your default speakers. You set your default mic on one of your mic auxiliary devices, and that'll get you started. Obviously my microphone is hooked up to my gaming PC, my streaming PC, but I would normally come into here and I would select either my default microphone, or if you've got a USB microphone like I've got the blue Snowball, I would select that as my default listening device. Obviously I don't have to worry about that with this NDI setup on here, which we'll touch on very shortly. Your video settings, this is where things can get a little confusing for some people. Your base and your canvas should always be at 1920 by 1080. That essentially that's what the size of your monitor. If you've got a widescreen, like a bigger monitor, use your base canvas resolution at your native monitor resolution, so whatever it is. Your output or scaled resolution, depending on what you want to stream in. If you're capable of streaming in 1080p, run it at 1920 by 1080. I generally stream at 1080p, but I capture at 1080 here, but I send it to my other OBS as 720 and it re-encodes back to 1080p. It seems to have a better quality. I don't know why. It seems a bit odd, but it does. Your downscale filter, you have 3 options there. Bicubic seems to be the most stable. So unless you've got a really high-end computer and a really high-end graphics card, you want to stick with bicubic. And then new streamers, I suggest running at 30 frames unless you know your system can run and handle 60. I run mine at 60. But as a general rule, 30 frames is the rule of thumb. Right, your hotkeys are pretty straightforward. Whenever you start adding stuff to your stream, microphones, speakers, scenes and things like that, you can add hotkeys. It's the same as any hotkey setup. Pretty straightforward. The advanced tab again is where you will find things like your delay, like stream delay. So here we have, if I wanted to, I could enable a stream delay. If you're a competitive gamer and you don't want to be stream sniped by another player or by whatever, someone that you possibly just don't want to be involved in that sort of thing, you can add a stream delay, any stream delay you like, 30 seconds, a minute, 3 minutes, whatever you're comfortable with. Otherwise, as a general rule, there's no delay. Like, there's virtually no delay from me speaking to you and what you see. And that essentially is OBS. I mean, that's a real basic quick run through on how to get OBS set up, ready to stream. From there, obviously, you're going to come to this section and add scenes and add sources. Essentially, to add a scene, you click add, you name your scene, and then you would go into that scene, highlight it here, which I've done here. And as you'll see here, I've got a source here, my display capture, which is actually capturing my display that you see right now, or a game capture, which you can actually choose the exe of the game and it'll capture that game. Display capture seems to be the better way to go. The only thing you have to be aware of is if you're capturing the display, if your game drops and crashes, you will see the desktop, so you have to be aware of what you're seeing. Obviously, if you go to there, that's your desktop, so you've got to be aware of what you're showing when you're on display capture. So you don't want people to see bank account details, things like that. So to add a scene, or add a source, sorry, click on the plus or right click it and add. Then you have all these different sources here. All these sources relate to different things. Display capture is a display capture source, so you can use it to capture a display. Game capture, pretty straightforward. You can add an image. So if you have an overlay that's in a PNG or a JPG or anything like that, you can add that image to that scene and then resize it. Most images you want to have at 1920 by 1080. That fits the screen on OBS, and then you can adjust the size. You can see the overlay. You can add things like Stream Boss. I mean, the one symbol there, my coin, they're all images which I've just added. I've resized so they fit. The overlay's an image. It's all that sort of stuff you can add using images and things like that. You'll see here there's an NDI source as well. That's because of the plugin that we've added, which I'm going to go through right now. If we go back up here, if you go to this website right here, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it will be in the description on YouTube when I do that. But I'll bring it down here so you can see it. That website there, which is basically, it's on GitHub. So you need to go to that website there and download the Windows installer of the OBS-NDI 4, or whatever the latest version of the OBS NDI plugin is. You want to download, you can either download the zip or the installer. The installer is easier. It's only a small installer, so it's only 633 kilobytes. Once you've downloaded that, obviously you want to install it. Once you've installed it, you need to restart your computer for it to take effect. So make sure you restart your computer, and then you open OBS and you come to Tools, and then you go to the NDI output settings, which will bring this up. You enable it, give it a name, and then you once you've given it a name, you click OK, and that will be enabled, ready to go. Now what that does, it means that whenever you open OBS on your gaming rig, it is automatically capturing. So you don't need to connect it to anything else. So essentially what this means, you have to have a version of OBS on both PCs, so on your gaming rig and on your streaming rig. To capture your gaming rig and send it to your streaming rig, you need to have on your gaming rig the NDI output enabled. Once you open OBS, which we have here, you put in a scene, label it NDI, and add a display or a game capture. I've got mine on display capture. And then you can minimize that, and that's it. That's as easy as it is for your gaming rig. On your streaming rig, which we're going to just do a quick switch over here. Bring this down here for you guys. Sorry for the whole interlacing thing, but on your streaming rig, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to download and install OBS, and then when you go to put a source in, this is my main source. You see it's labeled main. All my overlays and all my bits and pieces are in there. Down here, you'll see I've added an NDI source, and then all you do is you click on your source, add an NDI source name, and I find the source which I've labeled main rig on my other OBS. Takes about 30 seconds for it to kick in. You select it, you click OK. Takes about 30 seconds, and then you should see that display pop up on there, and that is it. You got your NDI source down here with your audio. All your audio and everything is routed without any use of any capture card or any audio capture card. The audio, whatever, like if I come over to my gaming rig here, we'll go over here, and we'll open the media center, and we'll play a song. You guys can hear that. You can. I'll just pause Spotify on that one. So you guys can hear that music playing. That music's playing on my gaming rig, but it's been captured and sent to my streaming rig, and then sent to you guys. No capture card, straight over the network. So obviously, if you're going to be doing network stuff, make sure you're wired. That's one thing I can't stress enough. Don't try and do this on wireless. It is not. I mean, unless you've got a really good wireless router, wired is the better way to go. Make sure both your streaming gaming PC are connected to your modem or router, and go wired. So that's pretty much it for OBS as far as the NDI setup and that's concerned. Yeah, don't do dial-up. no dial-up. So that's it for the first part of this tutorial. So next, we got on screen here Scorpbot. Now Scorpbot is a lot of new streamers get put onto Scorpbot, which I don't mind. I mean, Scorpbot's an okay bot, but I found that Scorpbot was a little bit limited, and there was certain things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do, and so I found Scorpbot, or a friend of mine or another streamer, Rogue Weaver, put me onto Scorpbot, helped me out set it up, and because I found nothing on YouTube about setting up Scorpbot. There are a couple of videos up there now, but nothing that really goes into any decent detail. So we're going to do a bit of that today. So what we do, when you first get Scorpbot, which you get from Scorpbot.com, is we open up the Scorpbot login. Depending on obviously where you're streaming, Twitch or Mixer, you've got the two tabs here. I'm obviously on Mixer. So this is where people get a little bit confused. Right. I have a second account on Mixer. I have created a second Microsoft account, and then in turn created a second Mixer account, which I have named Vlad the Impaler. Now, Vlad the Impaler is a bot account. That is the name of my Scorpbot. You can leave that, and if you don't want to have a second Microsoft account, if you don't want to go through the hassle of setting that up and going through all that problems, there can be a few issues with it. Then you can use your streamer account as your bot account. But there are a couple of streamers I know that do use it, and they've not had any issues. I've heard of other streamers that have had issues doing that. I wanted to have Vlad the Impaler as my bot, essentially. That's why I created this second account. It goes to the brand of my stream, the whole vampire theme, horror theme, and so that was part of the reason why I did that. So once you've decided whether you want to do a bot account or not, then you come to here and you click on the authenticate button, and it'll bring you to another window, which I'm not going to complete it because I don't want to go through this whole process again. So it brings you to there. So as you can see down here, I'm not logged into my bot account, I'm logged into my main account. So you have to make sure that when you're authorizing your bot, make sure that your bot account here. If you're authorizing your streamer account as both, then you'd keep it as your streamer account and then click approve. I'm just going to close that down, and we're going to cancel that. And then what should happen is should only take 10 or 15 seconds, and this will pop back up and this will go green and tell you you're authenticated. You go through that process again for your streamer account. If you've got GameWisp, same thing. You can go authenticate Scorpbot on your GameWisp. Same process. Click authenticate. It'll take you to a second website. It'll take you through to your GameWisp, and you just add it. You can do the same with Google, with StreamJar, Streamlabs. Again, I've done it with Streamlabs. You can authorize Scorpbot to have access to your Streamlabs account. It just makes with a little bit of integration for donations and things like that on Scorpbot, if you're wanting to use Scorpbot for everything, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Spotify also has, you can get Spotify in their Discord's coming soon still. Been there for a while, but it's still coming. So that's your authentication process. Once you've done that, you'll then log in. And on your dashboard, you should see this. Your mixer alert should be connected, and your obviously I've got Streamlabs, so my Streamlabs is connected. This is where this dashboard tab is where you can change your mixer title or your Twitch title, your game, your audience, whether you want to be 18, family rating plus, and then you just click update if you want to change it. This will also show you, as we can see here, Big German Goodly Lion have hosted me today, and so they list in the host section any raiders, subs if you got a sub button, and any followers you pick up for the day. So all that information is stored here. Donations are stored down here, and you've got event logs as well. So you can actually check all these logs which are stored on your PC, and it'll take you to that folder just by clicking on the open folder section. The rest of this sort of stuff you don't really need to worry about. Next is the hosting tab. Now I sometimes run my Scorpbot and have an auto host set up. Again, Twitch or Mixer, you've got double tabs there. So I've added all these streamers here. These are streamers that I know. Bring this down here so we can see it a bit better. So right here is all the streamers that I have had contact with and have become friends with, or they're part of Mixer teams, and I've added them all in here. And if I wanted to host these guys when I'm not online, I go to this section here which says disabled, and I drop that box down, and I can go and list order, which means that they will host in the order that is in the list, depending if they're online or not. Or I can go random, so it'll randomly host randomly pick someone out of that list and host them. I can priority switch to the list. So if I go list order, I'm not going to do it. If I click list order and it was say using King West as an example, it was hosting King West, and then Tanvan came on. If I had this selected, priority switch, then it would stop hosting King West and host Tanvan, being he's at the top of the list. Then you've got an auto unhost if I start streaming, which if I'm not using it, I don't generally use that because I normally stop it before. Then we've got an auto switch every 30 minutes I've got it set on. And this is what I normally use, is I go list order, but then I say auto switch every 30 minutes. And what it does is it starts with Tanvan, and then depending on who's online, it will automatically switch the host to someone else every 30 minutes. So that I'm hosting multiple people over that time. And it just means you're sharing the love a little bit more. I mean, you can host one person, it's up to you. But essentially that's what that does and how that works. The viewers section. Now this viewer section is where all the information of your viewers, every viewer that comes into your channel, whether they follow you or not, will be listed in this section. If you're wanting to find a specific user, for instance, I'm going to use Goodly as an example because I know he's in my chat right now. We're going to type in Goodly. That's all we need to do. Click on go, and it brings Goodly to the top of the list here. Now I can right click on Goodly and edit viewer. This brings up a little bit of information that some streamers may find interesting, or gives you some bits and pieces. So this tells me his rank, his mixer name, a Twitch name if we're on Twitch as well. Tells me how many hours he's had in my chat, which is 102. Tells me how many points he currently has on the point system. Then I can check this here. I can turn around and say, I can make it so that he can't participate in giveaways if I want to. If you've got a person that's coming in and winning a lot of giveaways, and they always seem to win the giveaways, or they're only just showing up for the giveaways, you can make it so they can't participate in the giveaway anymore. You can turn off their hours or turn off their points if you really wanted to be that person. But that's there. You chose you when they were last seen in your chat, date and time. Now, you've also got this option here. You could put an entrance message for a particular streamer. Let's say you have a streamer which is really consistent in your chat. They're a really cool person, and you want to announce when they come into your chat. You can do that with Scorpbot. You type in your entry message here. Use the same "Sup, Allard." Use the same variants that you use for your commands, which we'll touch on when we get to the command section. You can add a sound effect when they enter. So whatever's in your sound effects folder, you can add that as a sound effect when that person enters your stream. And then all you got to do is click save. And it'll whenever they join your stream, that message will come up, or that sound will play, which I think is actually kind of cool. I haven't done it myself, but I've seen other streamers using it, and it works very well. And I may add it with some of my mods and that later on. The giveaway section. We're not going to run a giveaway, but the giveaway section is pretty self-explanatory. You don't have a lot of things you can really mess up here. First off, obviously title your giveaway. So the last giveaway we did was a month of Mixer Pro. So that's titled there. You can set the permissions to start a giveaway for your mods. I've got mine set to editor. I mean, all my mods are editors anyway. That's why that is there. I've always got mine set viewers must enter, so that they have to be in. They actually have to be in your channel and viewing your channel to enter. If they're lurking and not actually in your channel, they cannot enter. Followers only. That means that they obviously have to be following the channel. If you had followers only unchecked, then you could have a viewer that comes in that hasn't followed you, and they could enter your giveaway. So you can do viewer giveaways without followers just by unchecking that box. Your settings, chat, so you can set it specifically for Mixer or both, depending on where you're streaming. If you're streaming on both, you can be restreaming to Twitch and do a giveaway on both. Your command, which you can change at any time, so you can change that. It can be ! enter, it could be ! suck my big toe. Pretty much your imagination's your limit there. If you want to do a giveaway, I mean, like for instance, we're doing a month of Mixer Pro, I could say exclamation point Mixer Pro or exclamation point Pro or whatever. Yeah, just a little bit kinky. Yeah, just a little. Your max entries is one. You can set a spark cost if you want your viewers to use sparks into that giveaway. And there are streamers out there that do use sparks as a giveaway currency, which is something I personally don't want to do, but other streamers do. You can have them have more than one entry. Your entry permission, again, you can set the permission. Everyone, regulars, subscribers. So you can set it to regulars. So to be a regular in my channel, you have to have 10 hours viewing time. So if I set my giveaway to regulars only, anyone that has under 10 hours viewing time in the channel will not be eligible for that giveaway. And then you just click start. Your reroll timer. So for your winner must claim the prize. Check that. Exclamation point claim. That guarantees that the person is in the chat and must claim it to win it. Otherwise it re-rolls. And you can set the timer anywhere from 10 seconds to 600 seconds. I've normally got mine set on about 30 to 60 seconds depending on the giveaway. You got reminders at the final minute and final 10 seconds, and then you got your timers. So you can set the time of how long your giveaway is going to go for. I didn't do a 70-hour hype. we can do an 80-hour hype. We're going to do an 80-hour hype. It's okay. So then you've got viewers must be active in chat and within the last, and you can set that 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 60 minutes, however long you want to do it. So once you've clicked start, it'll count down and everything else. Everyone that's entered will be listed into this box here, and then the winner will be listed in this box. And then once they've claimed, it won't come up in here until they've claimed it. It'll announce the winner here. They claim it, it'll go here, and then you give them the prize. Pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna spend too much time on the currency. The currency is very customizable. You do what you want and how you want. The only thing I would suggest is have your ranks based on hours, not on currency, depending on how you're going to run your currency. I've got my currency set so that people can have a lot. Obviously, I don't want my ranks based on the currency because we've got people in the chat that have 600,000 blood. So if they had that, they'd be the highest rank, and I wanted it based on hours. So it's completely up to you. How you set these up is completely up to you. How you set up your payout system is completely up to you. But ultimately, you name it, you set the command for it. You decide how much people are allowed to have at max. You can prevent transfers between other viewers by clicking that, so they can't give away their blood or give away their currency. If people want to give away their currency, they can give it away. It's not a big issue. Then you can come down here and set how much they get over a certain length of time, whether it's online or offline. So the only thing I would suggest is this one here, offline payout interval in minutes. I set mine at 0. And you can uncheck it too, just to double check that no one that is lurking, that is not actually active in your chat, or someone doesn't lurk in your chat when you're offline and gets currency for no reason. It's sort of set so the chat is active at all times. Now this is the section here where I've had lots of people asking me about commands and how to set commands up and where do you find your commands. Again, a lot of the commands are customizable and very custom to you. But what I found was, like, I knew what the commands were. I wanted to make a command for my Discord, but I didn't know how to do it. And this was the biggest issue. I didn't know how to write the command so someone could type an exclamation point Discord and get that command to come up on stream. I didn't know how to write the variables, what they call variables, which if I just bring up where is my Discord one? Bring that up there. So let's bring this back down here. If you see here in this section here, The variable, or what people call the variable, is this part. That is your variable. So exclamation point Discord. So we put the command into the command line here. Then we don't have to worry about a group. The chat is local. The input type is public. The output type is the same so that everyone can see it. Permission, this is critical for your commands. The permission is for everyone to use. So anyone in chat can type in exclamation point Discord and it'll give them the Discord details. And then in the response is where you type in the /ME. What that does is makes your text italic. So it makes it stand out just a little bit more in chat. Then you put in your variable, which is $user. And what that'll do is when a person types the command into chat, it'll put their name. It'll say, hey, as using Alad Dream as the example, Alad, join the Discord. Come hang out, and then the Discord link. So whatever you type in here will be displayed in your chat box. The ME won't show up because that's just a command to set the italic. The @ symbol, if you use @ and then $user, what that'll do is it'll @ tag the user that uses the command in the chat. So again, it makes their name stand out. Join the Discord. I will actually edit this. Wrong keyboard. Join the Discord and hang out. And we'll put a comma there. And then we add and save. So that's it. That's the basics of adding a command. So, I mean, you guys can see that you can pause this video. I've got this set up in such a way. Once this goes on YouTube, pause this video. Have a look at those commands. Use those commands. I don't care. I don't want people to not be able to get themselves set up and use these commands. These commands are not copyrighted. You can't see the full command because of, obviously, I've got the thing. Need to stretch it out a bit there. But I'm going to give you a lot of these commands anyway. The randomized dad jokes, the links to where I've got a lot of my APIs, the dad jokes and Chuck Norris and all that sort of stuff, those links are going to be in the description. So you're going to find those. The link to my Discord will be in the description. So if you want a specific command that's in my list, send me a message on Discord or message me on YouTube. Chuck a comment in. Ask me a particular command that you want. I'll give you the command. I want people to be able to have these commands because these commands help your stream run so much better. The commands make just that interaction a little bit more. There's moderator commands which your mods use to help promote your stream. All those commands there, I want everyone to be able to have access to because I couldn't find these when I first started on Mixer. I could not find these commands. I searched high and low on the internet and no one was willing to share these on the internet. It wasn't until I actually started streaming on Mixer and found some Mixer streamers that were like-minded and wanted to help other streamers out that I started collecting these commands and getting them on there. So it annoyed me. It really did. Right, so for instance, the lurk command, that's very specific to you. So you type in as your command !lurk, and then again you set your permissions for everyone. You set your input type as public, your output type is the same, so everyone can see it. Into your response there, whatever you want it to be. So I've got mine as the sun is coming up. $user slinks away to the basement to slumber in their coffin. So again, your variable is your $user, which when it's put into the chat, it'll be replaced with the user that used the command. There's a lot of other variables. There's $target, which is replaced by the target. So if you went, for instance, when you use your shoutout command, your shout out command would be, when we compare edit, this is where your variables come into play. So I've got it up there as go follow $target at $URL. They're an amazing streamer. They were last seen playing $game. So your variables, $target is when you at someone in chat. That's the target. It'll then put in the URL, the mixer URL of that target. It's a fun command. When you turn around and say, hey, look, I'm going to be right back, and you go !lurk, and what it does is lets people know that you've left the chat. Then you could come back 4 hours later and go !unlurk, and it just lets people know that you've come back to the chat. You know what I mean? So it's just a fun way of letting people know that you're going, yeah, it's essentially saying, I'm going AFK, this is the command why I'm going AFK. Instead of you going, hey, look, I'm going AFK, you can type in lurk and people know that you're AFK. And then when you come back, you type in !unlurk and people know that you're back at the channel. So it's a fun way of doing it. But the shout out command with those variables, so you got your $target, $URL, and then you've got the $game. So it'll list the game that target is playing or was last seen playing. So that's pretty much it. You can add any commands you want. You can have a rules command, which is just text. It has no target, it has no variables, but you type !rules, and you could type out whatever rules you want to put in. You can, there is a co-stream API. Now this co-stream API, a lot of people have been after, and I've given it to a lot of people. I was given it. The co-stream API is amazing. If you're doing, because of Mixer's ability to do a 2, 3, or 4-way co-stream, it's a way for your mods to shout out your co-stream. Now that's the API there that's listed there. Again, if you want this API, message me in the comments below, or find me on Mixer, find me on Discord, chuck me a message, and I'll give you that API happily. It's an amazing API. If you can't read it from there, I'll happily give it to you. It's an amazing thing. It makes co-streams run so much smoother. Your mods don't have to manually shout out every streamer in the co-stream. They can just type in !co, and the API does the work for you. And it's a really cool setup. And that's pretty much it as far as commands are concerned. The commands are there for your stream. They're customizable for you, for what you want to do. You can add sounds to your commands by using, again, in your SFX folder. You can drop that down and add a sound to it, all that sort of cool stuff. But it's really basic. Right, the next thing I've had people asking me about is the timers. Now, the timers are commands, essentially. So if you want to have a timed spam, like say, for instance, my rules as timed. So every 30 minutes, my rules will spam in my chat when I'm live. And then 30 minutes after that, I've got another spam that's, are you enjoying what you see? Why not hit that follow button? Your support is appreciated. It's another spam that comes up. So what we do here is, again, same thing. Type enabled. You want to have, to get this set up properly, I've had it so that it doesn't start spamming until we've had at least 5 lines of open chat or live chat in the stream. So like if I'm starting the stream and no one's talked in chat, it doesn't just start spamming until we've had at least 5 lines of chat come up in the stream. I've actually got mine set to every 10 minutes now. So every 10 minutes it'll spam a different spam message. And then I've checked this button here, only while streaming. So it doesn't do it when you're offline, so it's not just continually spamming your chat. So we'll just edit this one to show you how it's set up. So we've got enabled chat, 5 lines chat, 10 minutes interval, only while streaming. The name is !like. Type is both, so I've got it set everything for both, because I only stream on Mixer, so it doesn't matter whether it's both Mixer or whatever. We have it enabled, but I've also got it set to act as a command. Now what that means is when I add and save this, it'll be added to my command list. So these commands here, I added here under timers, not under commands. So they will act as a command. So that means that my mods can type in !like and have that command pop up as a command, not only as a timed spam. Every 10 minutes it'll do this one, then it'll do that one, then it'll do that one, then it'll do that one, and it just cycles through the whole lot every 10 minutes. And as Alad's just done on the stream there, not that you guys can see it, but I haven't got the chat up, but Alad has typed in !follow me, which is this time spam, and it's acted as a command also. Again, those commands are they're customizable. You do what you want. If you want to have a timed rules spam, you put it in there. If you want to have a timed merch spam, you put it in there. If you want to do any kind of time spam, you put it in there. But if you check act as a command, it means it can be acted. People can use it as a command as well. So again, you've got to set your permissions. Tools is the next tab. Tools is a way of adding a kill counter or a death counter or any kind of counter to your stream. Essentially, very straightforward. Your counter's there, you name it. I've got one here named for kills, which is for my PUBG kills for the season. The command is there. The text, again, kills this season, and then you put $count, which is your variable, which adds the count. This is what you'll see on stream. Permission to do that. So the permission to use that command is my mods only, or myself. I can do it manually through here, or I can do a chat command via the chat. And then what happens is, if we open this folder, when you want to add it to your stream, you open up a text source on your OBS, and then you browse to you have it set for local file, and then you find this file, and you add that. And what it's just a plain text file. And what that does is that text file is edited, and it's edited live, and it goes up on your stream. Pretty straightforward. The queue I've not used. I think that's more, a lot of Xbox streamers use the queue for people wanting to join. So if you're playing with viewers or followers, you'd start your queue, and people would type in basically they'd want to, they type in queue join, and then it would list them here. So then you can start your queue and end your queue. You could then go queue next, and it'll put a thing up on screen who's next in the queue, and that person would join your game, and the person before would leave. So again, I've not used it, but it's a pretty cool feature. You've got an on-screen counter. Now, there's a lot of other third-party things for your on-screen counter. Same thing. Add a text. You set your counter. You add a text GUI to your OBS and find the file, and pretty much go from there. Pretty straightforward. And you can clear the file when the timer runs out, so it just stops rather than starts again. And the text-to-speech thing, same thing. If I go mods, it's inactive at the moment, but we'll go start. And Alad, could you just type something simple into chat, please?
Allah_dream says Moose Knuckle.
And you get that. So basically, whenever a mod...
Allah_dream says ha 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 ha.
It can get a little annoying, that's why I don't use it, but every time a mod, if you give the person the right permission, every time a mod types into chat, it'll come up as a text speech. Which I just don't use, so I'm going to stop that. Quotes. Now, this is something I've never understood. I mean, I know a lot of streamers do use the quote system. I don't personally. Again, it's just another one of those. It's an exclamation point quote. You can add someone's quote to the quote list, and then someone can type in exclamation point quote again, and it posts it on the stream. Some quotes can be pretty funny, but I mean, I've never used it myself personally. Again, it's pretty straightforward to follow on this one. You got your response and to add it and stuff. It's not something I've used very much. the sound effects. Now, if you're going to use the interactive on Scorpbot, then you're going to need the sound effects. Within Scorpbot folder, we will just open over here. You have an SFX folder. So any sound effects that you want to use on your stream, whether it's via command or via your interactive, you must have in the sound effects folder within Scorpbot. Same with, if we go to data and then we go to media, this is where you must have any GIFs or any kind of media you want to use on your interactive or anything like that. You have all that stored in the Scorpbot data media folder. Otherwise you won't be able to see it. So then with your sound effects, you can open the folder from here, but it'll list all your sound effects. So that's all my sound clips, a few bits and pieces that we've got in there. We have sound effects enabled. You can have a user delay. You can set the volume up and down where you want to put it. Change it, save it. You can set a command. This is where you can set the command for it and set the spark cost if you want it to cost a spark. You can test them.
They mostly come at night.
From there,
mostly.
Select it and hit play. All that sort of stuff. So you can do all that from there. And that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty much it for sound effects to get you started. Graphics, same thing. I'm not going to go too much into the graphics here. There's another really good tutorial which does all the graphics for interactive. Really straightforward stuff. So I'm going to skip over this because it does take a bit of time. Games as well. The games, you just click enabled and people can play the games. You can customize all of this to suit your channel if you really want to. Hence why I've got my command for the spin is actually !feed. Then I've changed the message. So it says when a person spins, a user attempts to drain currency name from their victim, which my currency name is blood. So let's say, for instance, Alad attempts to drain 1,000 blood, attempts to drain blood from their victim. Then on success, it'll tell you how much you won, and that on a fail, it tells you you failed. So that is very customizable. It's very customizable. All the games are. Your heist is the same. I've got mine as a vamp hunt. So I've changed all these messages here to suit my channel, my brand. So you can do the same with your brand. If you've got a darker brand, for instance, if you want to use souls, I think Lucy Fletch uses souls and things like that. So you can change all of that stuff and make it your own. So all that stuff is customizable. Your 8-ball, like I've got an 8-ball one as well, which is !read. So the bot will read from the Book of Nosferatu and give the person the answer. And you can customize these answers as well. All that stuff can be customized. Really straightforward. It's easy. I'm not going to sort of go into too much detail with that either. Very easy to follow. It's not overly difficult to figure out the games. I think it took me a few minutes. The relay is a way to relay messages between Mixer and Twitch. So unless you're streaming on both, you don't really need to know about that. Interactive. Now this is where a lot of people get confused and upset about how the interactive works. I don't use my interactive anymore. And Alan's just gone with tagging me. That's what that noise you heard. He just tagged me in a message. So to run you basically through the interactive, normally this would be blank. As you can see there, I've got buttons there. I have set it up, but I don't actually use it. I'm using Firebot for my interactive. But I can show you how to set it up. If we go here and just highlight game over. Now what you do is you put in here your text. So you name your button. You want to have a cooldown. If you want all these buttons to have the same cooldown, then you give them a cooldown group. So this one's on a group 1. So I've got about 9 or 10 buttons on the group 1. And what that does is it gives them a global cooldown. So if you didn't have it set as a group, it would have a 180-second cooldown on its own. But because I've got it set as a group, every button that's in group 1 has a 180-second cooldown. Very cool. Static is the cooldown that you want. Spark cost. So you set how much that button's going to cost for a user to hit it. Permissions. size, which you can't do unless we go click invisible update. So now this is editable because it's not visible. So you can move it, put it where you want, resize it to whatever you want, and then resizing it with these buttons here. And then what you do, once you've put all that stuff in the response, this is the important part. So you'll see here $SFX, that is the variable for the sound to play. Then brackets and the name of the file, not the .mp3 or mp4. So if we go back to our sound effects page here, and we're going to find the game over, which will be here somewhere. Put them in alphabetical order. We find the game over mp3. The name of the file exactly. It has to be exact. Don't put the .mp3. You don't need the file type. Excellent. Just the file name. So game over, the exact file name, capitals and all. It's case sensitive, so you must have that. And then it goes in brackets here. So you see it's got the capital G. It's got the space. And then what you would do is click create, and it would put the button on there. Then you'd move it around, size it to where you wanted. Then you click visible and click update, and it makes it visible on your board. Now for you to you have to be live for it to work. So you'd have to be live and have it, and then you click connect, and then have someone press it. But you can double check to make sure the sound is working correctly just by double clicking.
That's it, man. It's game over, man. It's game over.
That tells me that button is working in Scorpbot. So that's your first step. Then you would click connect, and then have, like, I'll click connect here because we actually have interactive open today. Did that interactive come up, Ellen?
Here's Johnny.
And the interaction's working. So we'll disconnect that because that's not the one I'm actually using right now. So that's pretty much it. For social media stuff, for headers and social media, again, use the same variables as your command. So for Twitter, we put the text name in, put a cooldown in. With you make a cooldown group, which gives it a 5-second cooldown. No spark cost because it's a link to your social media. You size it, again, create it, and then just put it wherever you want it. And that's the variable there. Same variables as what you use in your commands. So you've got to make sure your username and all that sort of stuff's there. The $user and all that sort of stuff's there. If you don't put a response in that response line, your button will not create. You must put something in there. So if you don't have anything in there, like you wanted to have that there, it doesn't have a response. When you first create a header, just put a 1 in there, so you can create the button. You can delete that 1 later, so that it becomes just a header. The settings, another important part. So I've got auto connect to Mixer and Streamlabs, so that if anything happens and we lose connection, it will re-auto connect. You can do all your alerts through Scorpbot as well. So you don't have to have alerts through Streamlabs or anything like that. You can do it all through Scorpbot. The downside of that is doubling up. You might get 5 or 6 people follow in a follow train, and instead of what you see with Streamlabs and StreamJar and other places, is it'll play that alert and then it'll wait, then it'll play the next alert and it'll wait, then it'll play the next alert. With Scorpbot, it doesn't. To set them up, it's fairly easy. You want the command is there, so you check the box to use your follow alert. You can put your text in using the same variables from the commands, like the $user, thing like that. Then your sound effects, again, from your sound effects folder, you can add a sound effect for your follow, and when someone follows you, it'll pop the chat command in and it'll pop up the sound. If you wanted to use graphics, you'd then have to go into the graphics setting and actually set that up, which I said I wasn't going to go into. There are 2 really good YouTube videos on the interactive with the graphics. One from 4Leaf Gaming, really cool dude, and his video is really good. So about that side of it. So I'm not going to touch on it because his video is actually quite in depth and very good. Same with your donations, all that sort of stuff down there. So we'll come down to the general settings. So your general settings, this one here I have unchecked because I do not want people gaining hours when I'm not online. It's I find it kind of pointless. So We just uncheck that so viewers can't gain hours when I'm not streaming. With the chat settings, they've made a few changes to this since the last time I've been in here. So they've added a text size now. So when you go to your chat window and you see all this stuff up here, when you go to your settings, so you can change your text size. So if you're blind like me and you need to have it a little bit bigger, then you can do that there just by dropping that box down and changing that text size. You can show, like, check this box, show when viewers enter or leave the chat with the bot in chat, which is what I do. So that's how people know when you're lurking in channel, by the way. If you drop into a particular channel and they say, hey, how are you doing? Such and such. And you go, how the hell do you know I was here? That's how they know. Great secret. So then next one is private whisper for viewers first entrance. So when a viewer first enters my stream, my bot chucks them a whisper and welcomes them to my channel. That, again, that's a personal choice. I know some streamers prefer not to do it. I like it. I like the fact that as soon as someone comes in, it's not me greeting them, it's my bot saying, hey, welcome to the channel. It's personalized by putting in the $ user, so it greets them by name. What I don't do is, look, even though I know when someone pops into my channel, like I know that Alad joined my channel when he did before he even spoke, what I don't do is jump on that user. I don't, as a streamer, see that name pop up in my bot and go, hey, welcome to the channel, before someone's even had a chance to speak or even had a chance to see what the channel's about. I believe that can scare some people away. Some people like that, but I think the bulk of viewers would be a little bit intimidated by that. So I don't personally do that. And unless it's someone I know, like obviously if a mod comes in and they're trying to lurk in my channel, I'm not going to let one of my mods lurk in my channel. Just saying. They're gonna know that I know they're there. But for new viewers, I don't like jumping on them too quickly, because you got 5 seconds. I'd be creeped out. Yeah, exactly. If you didn't know how it worked, you'd be a little creeped out. So you got basically 5 seconds to make an impression on a new viewer. That first 5 seconds when they're in your chat is going to determine whether they're going to stay, and also going to determine whether they are going to hit that follow button. So you've got to be seen to be interactive. So you've got to be interacting with other people in the chat. Hence the reason why you get a lot of streamers that'll tell you that you must be talking all the time, whether you've got someone in your chat or not. Narrate what you're doing. Talk about anything, just something. You see, as long as you're seen to be interacting, that will certainly help. Otherwise, that viewer's just going to go somewhere else. If you're just sitting there like this playing the game, no one's going to stick around. It's kind of boring. So you've got to have a certain amount of ability to talk to yourself, which I have no problem with, because I love to talk, and I talk about everything and anything. I don't care. We talk about giant beavers and stuff. It's crazy. So next, whisper command cooldown timers. So instead of having your chat filled up with hundreds and hundreds of lines of spam, I've got this one checked so that when we have a command with a cooldown on it, it whispers it to you instead of puts it in open chat. Same with the whisper viewers when currency is used. So when you use some of your currency, you can have that whispering as well. The next one I've got checked. Viewers can be whispered commandless by typing !commands, which is a really cool feature. So whenever someone types into the chat !commands, it'll whisper you a full list of the commands that your permissions level allows you to use. So if you're a mod, you'll probably see more than a viewer or just a standard follower will see. Me being the streamer, I will see all the commands that are available, because I have permission to use everything, which is kind of cool. And then you can check whisper from streamer account on Twitch. So if I was on Twitch, it means I could whisper Mixer from Twitch and vice versa. I have that unchecked, so I don't have Twitch anymore. I don't have any intention going back to Twitch. I prefer Mixer. Not there's anything wrong with Twitch, don't get me wrong. Twitch is a cool platform. It paved the way for other platforms, but I prefer Mixer and its community, so that's why I'm here. Show emotes in chat. That will show it in the emotes in your Scorpbot chat. So you can have that checked or unchecked. That's purely up to you. Viewers can search Steam library by typing !Steam. Now that again is if I'm playing a particular game like PUBG for instance, and someone wants to know what PUBG costs on Steam, you can type in !Steam and it'll give you the information about PUBG and how much it costs on Steam at that current time, which I find is really cool. Next one, display points with commas. Personal preference. I like to have it as checked so that you can see it, which is kind of cool. Then this is all important down here. This is where if you are wanting to be raid friendly and you want people to be able to spam your chat, so you got to rely on your mods to monitor your chat a bit more. But you can set this only check 0. I've got it set for 0, but I think default it's like 5 or 10 or something. So only check, say 10 repeat messages per viewer, and then start deleting messages. So what happens is when you go into raid someone, with that, you guys would know that have been in chat before and have raided. When you go into someone's channel and you raid, and you start spamming the chat, and you get that little red bar at the top that says, "Oh, you can't message anymore," and you find that half your messages are being deleted. It's because they haven't unchecked this stuff in Scorpbot. So you uncheck that, set it to 0. Uncheck the delete so people can actually spam in your chat a bit more. So it means that they can raid you without having their messages deleted. The other thing I like to use, so the next thing which I really like is, again, player sound when @username is mentioned in chat. So if, Alid, if you'd be so kind, just to mention me in chat. I'm doing good, J26. How are you, my friend? Thank you so much for that follow and for that host. I really appreciate it.
Excellent!
Now, you guys heard the excellent Bill and Ted. Same thing. It uses your sound effects folder. So you can use the standard, you can go none, or you can use the standard mixer one. But yeah, so I couldn't hear the mixer one. So I actually found this in the settings. And so I used my own personalized sound when someone mentions me. So now I hear it every time, which is really cool. The next one down is stream info command. So enabled. So whispers a general information about your stream when someone, as what commands you use, games, features, and all that sort of stuff. So if one of you guys,
Excellent!
exactly, thank you, Fox. If one of you guys were to type into chat stream info, !Stream info, it would give you a whole bunch of bloody crap that you can read. Then you've got your link protection. This one is absolutely paramount for streamers to have, I think. Is alert links unless a moderator or higher links them, and delete links unless a moderator or higher links them. So what happens there is if Fox Lightning, for example, tried to put a link in chat, it would delete it because we don't know what that link leads to. It could be leading to pornography. It could be leading to something extremely graphic, which we don't want to see on our stream. So we have that moderated by our moderators, who can then permit a user to put a link in. So what would happen is Fox would then ask one of the mods and say, "Hey, look, can I post a link?" And one of the mods would type in !permit at Fox Lightning, and it would give them 30. We've got it set to 30 seconds. You can set it to higher time with the slider, but it gives them then 30 seconds to type that link into chat. So just another way to protect the stream from any completely really graphic content, which we just don't want to see. The caps protection, again, is one I turn off because, again, I'm raid friendly. I like to have people raid, and some raid tags are loaded with the caps. Again, it puts a little bit more onto your mods, so your mods have to do a little bit more, but if you've got good mods, they don't mind, and it's one of those things. I want to be raid friendly, so that's how we've got it there. So we've just got all that stuff turned off. You can turn it off and set your message and set who doesn't get warned. So you can set it so your mods and regulars don't get warned, but regular viewers do. Filtered words. Now this again is a personal preference to you. I've only got 4 in mine. Again, I rely on my mods for monitoring the chat and keeping that thing going, and because I like to have the chat a bit more free flowing, and I don't mind profanities to a certain degree, as long as it's not over the top. Obviously, the C-bomb, I'm not a big fan of that word. I find it a very nasty word, so I choose to bring it out. Obviously, as you can see there, I'm not going to say them on stream, but as you can see there, those words I won't allow in my chat because I find them highly offensive myself. And so, but we take things pretty serious. Next part here is we have our regulars. So we've got a big list of regulars now. All these users are listed as regular users because they've been in the channel for at least 10 hours and they've become regulars of the channel. Then over here we have editors. So in here, actually I've got to remove Demon. Demon is no longer a mod, so we don't need him and Zombie. And who do I got to add? I've got to add Alad. Well, this is a good example. So Alad Dream is a mod, but he's also, we give him some mods a little bit of extra privileges so that they can change the title and the game of your stream. So if you're busy playing a game and you just think, oh shit, I'm going to switch to a different game, and you switch to that game, you get into that game, and you think, oh my god, I forgot to change my title and I forgot to change my game. By having these editors, and we'll just add them there, done. By having the editors, then those particular mods now have the ability to change your game and change your title within your bot. So that basically, so as a streamer, you don't have to worry about it. So that's pretty much it for Scorpbot, guys. That one's a pretty straightforward one. Briefly, we're going to switch back over to this PC because I'm going to give you a really, really quick rundown on Firebot as well. Right, guys, so Firebot Interactive. Some people ask me about what bot I use for my interactive and how to set it up and things like that. First things first, you have to obviously download the Firebot from GitHub. So you download the Firebot app, if you will, and then add that, which is over on this screen over here. So you got to download this doohickey. So you make sure you get that, and then from there you have to create, obviously you have to create your, you can click on this part here where it says Mixer Studio, and that'll take you to that other screen that I was just showing you before. So it takes you to this page here, and this is where you create your interactive. So you've actually got to create a project through here, and then from there you go to your editor, which is over on this display, and you go to your build. Once you've created, so I've got Evldoa mixer here, then you go to build. Then on here you create your scenes. You'll have one as a default where you add your buttons. So to add a button, you click on new control, make it a button, and then name it, and then click add, which is what we've done here. All these buttons I've added and then I've named. In this section here, again, you name it, spark cost. Don't worry about adding properties. You can add a tooltip, which when someone hovers over the button, you can add a tooltip. It's up to you. I didn't bother, so that's that. So once that's done, it's closed. This is just the first part. This doesn't add any sounds or anything like that. This is just naming your buttons and then coming over to here and laying out your buttons on your mixer. So you got 3 button sizes. You got your large, which is your desktop. You got your medium grid, which is your tablets, and you got your small grid, which is for phones. So I've only got limited ones set up on my phone for my phone size, which I've actually got to redo this and change it a little bit. So someone who's on their mobile phone watching the stream will only see those buttons there. Someone who's on their tablet won't see anything because I haven't set it up. But that's my desktop one, which is what everyone sees when I turn it on. We also have a second scene which I've added here. I've had a couple of people lately asking me about how I turn my interactives off when we're at the end of the game and concentrating on PUBG or whatever. What I did was created a second scene. So again, added a new scene, named it Focus, put 3 buttons in it, which was just a couple of headers, so they're not actually buttons. So buttons are turned off, need to focus, and then your on button, which I'll show you how that works in just a moment. Again, so you put it on there. I don't have it on mobile. I've got it on mobile. I don't have it on tablet, but we've got it there. So that's that part of it. So then once you've done that and laid everything out, obviously click save so you can save it. We then, obviously we close that and we open Firebot. And we end up with this. Or we actually end up with this scene first. And what you end up over here is you have your boards. And you need to resync your board when you make any changes. And all your buttons are there. If we go over to here, we can see the focus, both your scenes are there. We've got the focus one there, the default. Now, to add sounds, obviously, you want to add sounds or video or... so we click edit. No worries, totally. So we click edit and we obviously, you got button text. You got a tooltip again here if you want it. You got spark cost, cooldown. I haven't added a cooldown to any of mine because I have global cooldowns, which we'll touch on very shortly. I'm not sure what threshold is. Oh, number of clicks before the effects have run. So you can actually make it so that someone has to click it 3 times before it runs, which I find a bit weird, but okay. Permissions. So you can set the permissions. So you can make the button for an individual user, for a group, or for everyone by hitting none. Makes it nice and easy. Then what should this button do? So I've got this one playing an image and showing a sound. So we go show image. We find the image, which I've got here as a GIF. So you just find it from a local file, choose the file. Then you can position it wherever you want to. Do it custom, or you can choose the grids. The preset grids work reasonably well. But if you want to put it in a really custom place, you click custom and you can put it wherever you want on screen. You can set the exit and enter animations. I've got mine just fading in and fading out. And then you can set the size of it too. So if it's too big, you want to make it smaller, you want to make it bigger, you can actually set your dimensions. Then you got duration. Now, if you're playing a sound with a particular GIF, you try and obviously want to sync it up, and the duration wants to be the same length of the sound, roughly. I've got it set for 6 seconds. Then you click save. Play the sound, same scenario. Choose the sound, set your volume. So you've got a volume control here. You can set the app audio. I've got mine as app default, which should be your desktop default by default anyway. Click save, save changes, and that button's set. To test it, click play. And as you can see right there, there's the image, the sound played. Then you need your feedback from your stream. Obviously, whether it's too loud or whether the placement's good. If they like the placement, they may want you to change it somewhere. But the sound might be too quiet or it might be too loud, so you need to adjust your volumes based on that as well. So you get feedback from your viewers based on that sort of thing, and you go through that same process for everything. If you're playing a video, and we'll use our zombies video as an example here. Same thing, go through the whole thing, set permissions, then you click show video, local file, wherever you want to put it. I've resized this one because I'll put it in a different place. And you can loop it if you want to. Again, set your volume, things like that, save changes, and then you play it. And that pops up on stream. So that's pretty much it for Firebot as far as getting the buttons working. The next thing, people ask me about how to change from switch scenes and how to turn my interactive off or turn my interactive over to that scene which doesn't have any buttons on it. First thing you got to do is make a command, which is a chat command. So essentially I've got it as on as a command. It's just you put whatever triggers you want. So I've got it triggered as !IO. Moderators and channel editors are the only ones that can use it. And that's done. Save changes. That's pretty much it. Change group scene is all you need. So that's there. Done. Save it, and it's there. what I've done with the buttons to make it a button instead of a command, because I didn't want my mods to have to type it out all the time. So what I decided to do was make a button. So I created the button off, made it for mods and channel editors. It's an active button. It then goes to chat. And in the chat, it chats as the streamer and it whispers to me as well. So it's not seen in chat when you press it. And it types out the command. So the command to switch scenes within Scorpbot, firebot, is the command that you use, but !io, focus, and then default. And what that does is it switches the scene to the focus scene for the default group, which is everybody. And then in turn, on the other board, I've created an on button, which has the opposite. So in that one, it's got default. So that in turn changes the scene back to the default scene for the default viewers, which is everybody. And that's pretty much how to do it. You set your buttons here. These buttons don't do anything, so there's no cooldown on them. It just says interactive off. They're essentially just a header, and that's pretty much it. So if Alid, could you hit the off button, please, and turn the interactive off so people can see how it changes. Now, what I'm going to show you is this chat here. Now, you see here, this whispered to me the command, and then it told me it was changing it. So the chat doesn't actually see that. It's whispered to me as the streamer. So again, you're not filling your chat up with spam, and it works. And then you turn it back on, and you saw it come up default, and it turns interactive back on. So that's pretty much it for Firebot.